Cain Dingle stands alone in the Dingle kitchen, the familiar comfort of his father's worn cap gripped tightly in his hands. The room feels smaller, heavier, like the weight of his father's absence has collapsed the walls inward, leaving him suffocated by grief. For all his toughness, all the bravado Cain's known for, the news he has to share is something even he struggles to voice. Zak Dingle is gone. His father, the heart and soul of the family, has passed peacefully in his sleep. Cain's face betrays his internal struggle, the cracks of vulnerability showing in the man who rarely allows anyone to see him falter. Yet, today, the weight of his loss is too much to bear. Zak's death isn't just personal, it's the end of an era for the Dingle family, for the entire village of Emmerdale. Moira enters the kitchen quietly, her gaze heavy with sympathy, knowing the burden Cain is about to shoulder. He hasn't told the family yet, and Moira can sense the storm of emotions raging behind his tough exterior. She approaches gently, her voice barely above a whisper, asking if he's ready to break the news. Cain says nothing at first, his fingers still clenched around the cap, as if letting go of it would make his father's absence more real, but he knows he has to do it. With one last glance at the empty chair his father used to sit in, he squares his shoulders, preparing himself for the hardest conversation of his life. Out in the yard, Belle and Sam wait, their faces etched with concern. They don't know the details yet, but they sense the gravity of the situation. Cain steps out into the brisk air, his boots crunching on the cobblestones as he makes his way toward them. Belle is fidgeting nervously, trying to keep her emotions in check, while Sam stands beside her, his expression already one of silent dread. The tension is thick, palpable, as if the very air around them is holding its breath. And then with a voice that is both quiet and resolute, Cain speaks. "Zak's gone," he says, the words hanging in the cold autumn air like lead. Belle gasps, her hand flying to her mouth as tears well in her eyes. Sam turns away, his face crumpling under the weight of the news he had feared but wasn't ready to hear. The silence that follows is deafening, each family member caught in their private world of grief. Belle can barely contain herself, her voice breaking as she begs for it not to be true. But Cain, ever the realist, knows there's no way to soften this blow. Zak is gone. He left this world peacefully, but the emptiness he's left behind is anything but. The three of them, Cain, Belle, and Sam, stand together, but the space between them feels vast, like a chasm opened by Zak's death. Memories of their father, the man who raised them in his rough yet loving way, flood their minds. Belle remembers his warm, gruff laugh, how he'd always call her his little lass. Sam recalls the lessons Zak taught him, the pride his father took in the Dingle family's legacy. Cain, usually so composed, finds himself overwhelmed by the weight of his father's influence, realizing now just how much of his strength came from the man who had been his rock. They head to the fields where Zak used to spend his days, a quiet homage to the man who found peace in the land. Belle, still fighting back tears, whispers that this place was Zak's piece of heaven on earth. Cain remains silent, staring out at the rolling hills, the very land that shaped his father and by extension shaped them all. Sam chokes back his grief long enough to voice what they're all thinking. Zak was the strongest man he ever knew, a fighter, a survivor, the man who taught them how to endure even the harshest of life's blows. And yet, even as they reflect on Zak's legacy, Cain can't help but feel the void left behind. Zak wasn't just their father. He was a legend, a man whose presence loomed large over the village and the family. His death marks the end of something bigger than just one life. It's the loss of a pillar, a foundation. The Dingle family will never be the same, and neither will Emmerdale. Later, at the Woolpack, the Dingles gather, their usual energy muted by the day's events. The pub, usually filled with laughter and conversation, is quiet, almost reverent. Cain sits alone at the bar, his drink untouched. He stares into the glass, his mind miles away, replaying memories of his father, memories he can't quite bring himself to let go of yet. Around him, the rest of the family clings to each other, drawing strength from their shared grief. Even in their mourning, there is a sense of unity, of the Dingle spirit that Zak cultivated and instilled in each of them. But as the night wears on, it's clear that Zak's death has left a gaping hole in their lives. For Cain especially, the loss is profound. Zak was the one man who truly understood him, who saw past the rough edges to the heart that Cain so rarely lets others see. And now that connection is gone. There's no one left to be the glue that holds them all together. Yet, as Cain looks around at his family, he realizes that Zak's legacy isn't gone. It lives on in each of them, in their strength, their resilience, their fierce loyalty to one another. As the camera fades out on the quiet, somber scene, it's clear that the Dingles will endure. They always do. But this time, they will do it without their patriarch, without the man who was the backbone of their family for so long. The village of Emmerdale has lost a legend, but Zak's spirit will continue to guide them, even in his absence. His memory, his influence, will never be forgotten.